You are now live. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 11th budget workshop. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and if you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay. Moving on to public comment. As you know, this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov or call 860-258-7682. You will be provided with a Zoom link to attend the Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how you will participate. And now we will move to budget review. We will be doing capital improvements, beginning with the town on pages 102A through 102H.
Probably we should start with, I don't know what page it is because my number is hold out, but there's a write-up on the proposed
100?
capital improvements for the 21-22 budget year. I think it's on page 100, is it?
That's right,
It would be
100.
And that has the write-up, and then we have the departments represented tonight to address any of the explain the capital improvement request. If we want to finish this, and then the ones that you reference relates to our 5-year projection, we can go to that one next, but I recommend that we start with the capital improvement page and go down
Yep.
and start there and work our way down.
Okay. So
The first item should be related to the upcoming property reval for October 2023. Generally, we budget $25,000 a year for this cost. It occurs every 5 years, so that we budget for it when it has the money when we're supposed to be doing the revaluation. So again, this is just budgeting money, putting it aside to be expended when we do the October 23 grand list reval.
okay. I'll just go down the row then.
And
Or
then,
did you?
we just, I'll go down, I'll do the first couple,
Okay.
and then I'll designate the lucky department head to address the issue. So the next one for $57,000 relates to the town acquiring the development rights in the meadows for the property that used to be where the motocross was. And then it's an agreement worked out with the landowners in which the town would pay them $57,000 aggregate per year over 10 years. And this $57,000 would be the 7th payment associated with that land development rights. Nothing on that one. If you want to go
No,
down.
Josh.
Yes.
So the 50. This is the 7th payment on that. So this was started a while ago. I mean, how frequent are the payments? Once a year.
Once a year.
So does this predate the development right bond?
I'm not really sure whether they can. It might have started beforehand.
Because it doesn't come out of the bond; it's coming out of another town budget.
Right. It's
Yeah, John, this was after that referendum, that
Yeah.
land. So this
The way
was
that-
this, yeah, Ray, I'm not sure if you have the details, but this was the agreement No, you're right, John. 7 years ago for 570,000 over 10 years. So anything over $1 million, I think, would have to go be part of that bond.
No, this was done independent of the bond.
Right.
Yeah, it was a process that was developed by the then town manager, not using the bond money at all.
Right.
Thank you.
Then the next line relates to appropriating money to go towards the Stratscar Farm Improvement Fund. The town will be establishing like a special revenue fund to retain any revenue as well as appropriations from the general fund to be put in there into that fund, and that fund would be used to cover expenses associated with rehabilitating the Stratscar Farm property. This 125 is basically money to take down the house, approximately 50,000. That's cost to dispose of hazardous material, approximately 38,000. The town did get a steep grant from the state that we're anticipating purchasing and putting up a barn in which the town has to put in I believe a 20% match, Ray?
$12,000.
$12,000. And then we just have money in there, 24,008 for potential needed site work once we get our testing back from relating to the grounds. I don't know, Ray, you want to add anything else to it that I might have missed that you're dreaming about doing?
No, you've just about covered everything, John.
So again, the same question, only two levels. This 125 is not part of the bond outright retail purchase of the land, nor is it part of the bond development rights bond.
If you mean the land acquisition bond, no.
It's not part of either
we're
bond.
anticipating using up the bond, remaining bonded money associated with some of the testing that's being done currently, as well as some work that the farmers might be doing on their property, specifically putting in gates. So far, they put in 2 gates by the road exit, and then one that is sort of in the middle of the property that divides, what do we call it? Phase A, Phase B, or
Yeah.
Parcel A,
Parcel.
B. Parcel.
The intention is to use up the bonded money as soon as possible because we borrowed the money, we're paying interest rates, we're paying and paying it back, paying interest on it and so on. So the bond council always wants us to use up our proceeds as soon as we can. This 125 is for additional work needed to be done, as I mentioned earlier. But it's coming from the general fund, transferring into a special revenue fund Mona is creating, well, town farmland improvements.
Thank you.
John, I'm sorry, John, is this going to be like a one-time thing, or are there going to be, like, if we go looking the following fiscal year, more expenditures?
Oh, excuse me. I tend to think it will be not a one-time thing, but hopefully a declining amount as we get the property in good shape. So less work needs to be done, and it'd be funding for the operation of the farm, the barn, and whatever other items the council decides to do with that land. But hopefully it's a declining amount of money, and it'll come to a fixed dollar amount for the to cover the cost of operating the farm over a 12-month period.
But if there, as we get to point where we have actually operations there, where we're incurring expenditures, those would be outside of capital improvements. So those would be just, there'd be a budget area for expenditures related to that. I'm not sure which department, but is that correct?
Right now we could always set up a budget within the general fund, but as of right now, we're budgeting for it as a CIP with the understanding that we're going to be transferring that money into a special revenue fund so we can track the expenses associated with that property. And then the money, if we don't spend it all, the money would roll over to future years' uses.
Okay. Thanks.
John, was there an estimate on the actual demolition of the house? How much was that, do you know?
Ray, didn't we have an estimate from one of the many people that wanted to come out and clean out the property?
We had an estimate of around $55,000. The abatement, as you mentioned, was 38.2.
The part of the problem is that the year it was built, between asbestos and lead paint and so on, it has to be capsulated and then shipped most likely to a landfill in Ohio that accepts this type of building material.
Okay. The only reason I mentioned that is about 4 years ago, there was a property down the street that was demoed about the same square footage. And it was only, the demo and haul away was only 30,000. So that's the only reason I mentioned it. But if there's certainty about the asbestos and all that stuff, then yeah, I can see the additional cost.
I think it's the lead paint that's the concern.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
The 38 that you mentioned for hazardous materials removal, so that would be like soil remediation. That wouldn't be something that would be, because the material removal comes out of the holdback for cleaning up the site. Is that correct? So this would be outside of that?
The 38,200 is for the building materials remediation, which for the house and the outbuildings. It involves lead paint mostly and some asbestos.
So that would be on top of the 50 to take down the house?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so just to clarify, all of the material that's being removed, not even material, all of the items being removed off the farm with the escrow money are not related to the structures. So the structures we need to pay for. Anything related to demoing, hauling away, remediating, and so on.
We have a couple other structures out there, right, Ray? The barns?
Yeah, we have the shed.
They could be incorporated into this if it doesn't make sense to keep them.
Right.
And hopefully, Ray, by June, the ECD will get back with an award to help us.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did have a conversation, just for a little background, I did check up on the application processes, and DECD is coming out with another round of grants for brownfield remediation, and that announcement will be made over the summer. And they know that amount, and potentially because there were so many applicants for this round that they may fund some of these applicants, which includes us twice, one for Ames and one for here, with that new funding. So there's some hope.
That's the key word, hopeful. And
Gotta have hope.
the scary word is state. So if we're set with the farm, we can head over to the fire department's roof, which is phase 3 of Phil's 3-year project. And He popped in, so I'll let him explain the final step.
Hi, everyone. So this is phase 3. If you recall, 2 years ago, we did the worst, which was the roofs over the fire bays. And then last year we did the ambulance bay. And then this year is the last section, and it's the upper section over the second floor meeting room. And it's for $60,000. And that will complete the redoing of that roof for that building for at least another good 20 years. It's a 20-year warranty. And then that building will be all set for 20 years after this year.
Looks like you did a good job, Phil. Okay, we're set with Phil's roof. Used to be a baseball player, Phil Roof. But Jim Solomon would get that one, I think, maybe. We'll go down to, the next one is $100,000. We budget just about every year for relating to sidewalk repairs, in which the town gets a grant from LoSiP. So we usually have, this is a sort of a budget neutral item where we budget revenue and we budget the expense to equal it. And if you want, Jim, you want to take it, or Steve?
Yeah, I mean,
what your plans are for next year, or
it's our basic repair program, which is sidewalks all over the town. We try to do it in a circular fashion where we split the town up into 4 zones. I don't know which one we're at this point.
It's like northwest.
Northwest corner. So we'd be concentrating there. The main reason it's more economical to work in one area so that we get a better price. We can get the concrete delivered in that area, and it's a lot more efficient and economical. So that project, we really haven't been doing much of the repairs, and it's probably way overdue to get this thing going. Every dollar in, as John said, is reimbursed by the state. I don't know if you had anything else to add, Steve.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. And
Welcome.
Steve.
You're welcome.
Next is town aid roads, which is $346,000. It's money similar to LoSiP that we get from the state every year. We usually get it in 2 installments in July and January. Past couple budget years, the state's been timely in making their payments, so we could develop projects to use this money for, with a good anticipation the money would be there. Some years the state holds it back for whatever reason. Again, it's money that we used on the roads, as well as I think for some winter expenses as well. We can use it for treating the roads and so on. I don't know if anyone else wants to add any more thing else to it, Jim or Steve or Joe.
Not at this point.
Okay. Next is the Parks Department, relating to a couple projects, grounds improvements. One is work that needs to be done on McVicker Field turf. You know, it's one of that, lack of better, artificial type of turf that needs to be spruced up every few years, and they're recommending doing it this year, as well as a project the Parks Department is doing to start rehabilitating some of the baseball fields in town. The first one they want to go after is the one at Sunnycrest, that my understanding is the drainage is poor over there, and in the early April, spring season of baseball, the field doesn't get used that much due to water being on the field, dampness, and so on. And it's one of the two, I believe, major league fields, Babe Ruth fields, where the high school uses it as well as, I think, Griswold. So if Craig's on the line, as long as his team's not having a rally, he could provide more detail on those projects.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, so the top dressing of McVicker Field, that is, that's kind of necessary at this point. It's something that should have been scheduled to do for like halfway through the project. But unfortunately, I think when we redid the turf 6 years ago or 5 years ago, it was done with grant money. So, you know, what ended up happening was this was something that didn't get accounted for. So we did have Field Turf come out and do an assessment of the property. And this is the number that they came up with. This is about a week job. They have to mobilize, bring their trucks in, and then fill all the low spots on the field. So that's it for the top dressing piece of it. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or
my question is actually just, it's kind of for both, you know, for with these two projects, what's the risk if they don't get done this year? And, you know, can it be done in chunks, or is it an all or nothing shot? If you just kind of help us with that.
Okay, the top dressing needs to get done. It's really not an option. Putting it nicely. Just because, you know, if we don't do the top dressing and fill in the low spots, and then we go out for GMAX testing and the testing comes back, they could potentially shut the field down. And that's your high school field. So that's something that needs to be done. And we're a part of a maintenance program now that will prevent this from happening again. It's not like something we have to do every year. So that's, you know, if we do this one shot deal now and we keep up with our maintenance program, our continuing maintenance program, then this will get us to the end of the life cycle of the turf.
And I'm assuming, just, you mentioned that some spots need to be filled in. That also would sound like, you know, the reason why I guess they wouldn't certify the field is that would be a player safety issue.
Yes, exactly. So to keep this field up to speed, it's our most used field in town by a wide margin. So, you know, it's something that, you know, has to get done. Was the other one the Flanagan Field? I cut out. I'm sorry about that.
I think it's Sunnycrest.
Yes. So here's the issue with that field. We only have one big diamond in town that's reliable. So, you know, if we don't do that one, we can get by, but it's something that eventually needs to get done just because we have so much more demand for the fields now. Baseball it's a spring, summer, and fall sport now. So we really need two diamonds to be able to service the kids in town. You know, again, I think it's something that I'm going to keep putting in for it because it's something that needs to get done. Pretty much.
Greg, just follow up on that. Is there some proposal for, I think it's Pro Player Field at Elmridge? And if so, is that going to be a big diamond or a little league diamond, or is it still to be determined? Or
that's still to be determined. That's a good question, Jeff. That's still to be determined. You know, we have hopefully we're going to be getting this grant money soon. We're going to hire an architect to put together some proposals for what we could do with that space. It could be another field. It could be a cricket field. It could be a multi-use field for Little League, soccer, and cricket. It could be a green space. It's not something that we know at this point, but it is definitely not a playable baseball field right now if we were to try and make improvements to it at this time. So
I mean, I guess my question is, if there's any chance that field may end up being 90-foot diamond, then will we want to put that kind of money into Sunnycrest as well?
I don't think it's big enough to be a legit 90-foot diamond. it's more of like a men's softball size field right now. So, and here's the other thing, the thing that we aren't mentioning too, is this is supposed to be the home baseball field for McGee Middle or GMS for Griswold Middle School. And 2 years ago, they had one game because the field didn't drain properly. So we had a wet spring. They played one home game. That was it. And, the kids, they were playing all their away games. And, it's something that I think it's something that those kids deserve to have as well. And this would be completely redoing the infield of the field, stripping it, installing legitimate drainage, kind of like we did over at Stevens Field, because, that is a high water table in Sunnycrest Park. So we had to do the same thing for the Stevens baseball field too. So the plan is in place there to make it work. But I think it's something I'm going to keep asking for, to be honest.
So has this been a request? I don't recall. Has this been requested prior years?
Yeah, I asked for it last year as well.
Well, no, I think what might have been requested in a wish list, and I think as Craig mentioned, we did the one first behind Stevens.
I know that used to
that
be
was the
really...
first one that we did, and then so this is the second, and I think Craig has a couple other fields in future budget years to do, but I think we're trying to upgrade one a year. Craig?
Yes.
That works.
That's correct. That is correct. Anything else?
Sounds like you're set for the moment, Craig.
Okay.
We'll see you later.
All right.
One more. Moving down to the next item was just money appropriated relating to the community center, perhaps buying materials or equipment or shelving or audiovisual items that weren't really part of the construction phase of the project, and which was going into the building itself. So it's just reserve funding to buy miscellaneous items that could occur or be needed after the building is open. It's non-construction related items. So again, it's a reserve for future needs.
John, couldn't that be part of a grant?
It could. It could.
Okay.
Question is,
I mean, not all grants
again,
are.
I might have mentioned before, we were anticipating going for a grant to get through Hartford Foundation to try to get exercise equipment. And Ray and I found a contact there, and we were working with them, and they were telling us, well, wait until the project gets going and you have better figures and all that. And then when we had those numbers, Hartford Foundation stopped funding those types of projects and went primarily funding nonprofits that's fighting the COVID problem. So again, we could always try that group again when they start doing grants for this type of project.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I only mentioned that, not that all grants are guaranteed, but if this came under some criteria of that, then all the better. Okay, thanks.
And John, you mentioned some of like audiovisual equipment, some of those types of items. This one of the, I guess this and Mosier was one of the few opportunities where we get to kind of start something off new, start a new program. Is there an idea that this would be like kind of our initial investment, and then we would have some sort of funds left over for replenishment every year. There's be some wear and tear on some of the stuff. I mean, we're not going to need to probably spring for new, I don't know, PVs or whatever every year, but there'll be some, depreciation that does take place. Is the thought that that will be like a recurring line item for the community senior center moving forward, but at a lower number? Or what's your thought for that as we think about the future?
This money is more set up for audio-visual equipment that might be on a cart as opposed to embedded in a wall or a ceiling or something like that. Again, hopefully it would get a lot. The community center will get a lot of wear and tear, so that we would need to have to replace things, but hopefully at a lower number, and probably if we have any extra money, maybe set it aside into the non-reoccurring account to cover for those types of replacements when they become necessary. Okay, going from the senior center inside to outside of the community center, the facilities custodial staff is requesting the purchase of a Bobcat, I believe, Phil.
Yes.
That would enhance snow plowing activities during the wintertime and could be shared with Parks or Highway Department during the spring and summer months.
Yep. So we were using a John Deere residential style tractor without the mower deck with a snow removal attachment. It's 10 years old. It died on us in December after the first storm. So to get it back going just wasn't worth the cost. It was like $2,500 for the snow thrower itself, the attachment, and then it's showing signs of rotting underneath. So basically, it's kind of a dead vehicle. So, but even prior to that, I still had the plan in place to replace this with this Bobcat. But now it's necessary because we don't have anything. We borrowed the same year, same model from the school because they also started replacing that particular model. They were bought 10 years ago for all the schools plus the campus here. The schools have replaced it with one of the schools at West Hill replaced it with that same model that I want to get, and it's perfect for sidewalk width. The base model comes with a bucket, which would be also useful because a lot of times after plowing, there's mounds. By the time we get to it, it's frozen. We can't move it. We'd be able to, we'd be able to move mounds per se, get it out of the way, clean it up for the next storm. I asked questions about this particular model with the school's facilities director, and they like the machine. It's a very, very efficient machine. Again, the tractor, the John Deere tractor mower tractor unit, it's open air. You're not protected by the elements. The staff are abominable snowmen after a snow event because they're full. They're covered with snow and they're cold, so they're taking not many breaks. They're taking breaks because it's just they're cold. The fingers and toes. When they're not moving, they get cold quick. We have currently 30,000 square feet of sidewalk that we do, and it's a combination of snow blowers and this tractor. With the addition, we're going to have an additional 5,000 square feet of sidewalk and entranceways, stoops. We also clean generator pads. Of course, the police department, around the perimeter of the fire department. The sidewalks from the end of the library property all the way around, all the way over by past the Kennedy House. That's how long a stretch that sidewalk is, and that's primarily where the Bobcat will be used. We also do up on Church Street on the corner of Church and Elm. This side, this side of the campus, that sidewalk, and I believe a bench area, patio area that we also clean. So it'd be a useful machine. I also put in for forks. So there's many times where we've had to offload tractor trailers, even box trucks, without lift gates. So we'd have to break down the pallets and, like a colony of ants, bring in stuff into the building. And depending upon staffing at that particular time of day, sometimes it's only 1 or 2 people, and it's just time consuming. Tractor trailers are out there on the road, which you don't want them to stay there, you want them out of there. So it'd be useful. The forks could also be used for we move picnic tables around a lot. Human Services use them for special events. The library does. So we'll move tables back and forth. Right now, currently we do it by hand. The set that the old community center had, the round metal type, very heavy. So I mean, it would be able to serve that purpose. But besides the snow blower, which is the most important aspect of the accessories, the bucket would come in really handy. So again, it's something that that we do need. And the current John Deere that we have now is borrowed. We have to give that back as schools.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Okay, it looks like we're ready to move on down to the highway department equipment line, which is made of that 99,000 is composed of 3 items. The first item relates to a lease agreement that the town signed for a Caterpillar loader. So that's in its 3rd year of 5 years. So that's a commitment the town made already. The other 2 items are new requests from the highway department relating to leaf removal equipment, as well as starting a snow plow replacement program to replace the plows on the large trucks that do the roads in town. So I'll turn it over to Joe, Jim, or Steve to address those requests, especially the leaf replacement. That is a kind of a higher ticket item. So, Joe.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, the our leaf machines are significantly older. Up to this year, we'll have one unit that's 26 years old. So we're having difficulty getting parts. We definitely need to start that program of removing for the next 3 years, replacing these old units. Maintenance, not finding parts, and the cost of repairing them, and the length of time that it takes. We're not out sucking leaves, and I get a lot of complaints. I get a lot of phone calls because I have equipment that's broke down, and we can't suck, can't vacuum the leaves. So that leaf machine it's a necessity. I need to have a new machine.
So Joe, you put the leaf machine on top of inside one of your dump trucks, and it's like a vacuum, right? And they just go around and suck up the leaves that people rake to the side of the.
So we go behind. The machine follows the truck.
Okay.
All right. Yep. The plows, same thing with plows. I have the plows are older than the trucks. We were down to one spare, I believe, last year. We've been piecing and plumbing stuff together. I can't do it anymore. I need to replace these 20-year-old plows. I can't find parts. And I've been lucky with the storms this year, but if I had, significant storms, I would have been in trouble. At least we had time in between these storms to fix the plows, and the guys at the fleet department did a fantastic job piecing everything together. So the plows, that's definitely a need also. Any questions on the plows or leaf machines?
Yeah, Joe, on the snow removal aspect, so there was some notable sidewalk problems this past year where stuff got frozen in place on the corners of the streetscape, either corner of the streetscape, the piles. So the crosswalks, you couldn't hit your mark on the other side and get across and get on the sidewalk. And then along Elm Ridge Park, the sidewalk there got iced over and then stayed frozen for a while. And then there were some spots on Old Main Street. And I guess what I'm just kind of scoping it out a little bit. I mean, people were relatively nice about it and called up about it, and it just is what it is sometimes. But I think some people were noticing, and I guess I'm asking you, we have two types of plowing going on in town, right? There's state roads and town roads. Is that handled by two different crews?
Yeah, I'll explain the whole thing, and streetscape and Main Street. So, best cleaners, the hair salon, the CBD store, the whole deli, all those corners those people are responsible for that snow removal. That is their sidewalk. So they're responsible for that. And I did communicate with them this year. What happened was the problem with the ice is what the state did. We were supposedly supposed to get another big storm. So they do what they call bench back. And if you noticed, 3 feet off the road, it was all of a sudden that snow shelf was gone. They pushed it back, and it covered the sidewalks over by Elm, by the park, and by downtown. So the vendors locations, they actually did remove the snow during that after the event. But the state came back out a couple days later and re-threw that snow, and it froze. It got warm, it got cold, and then you got ice. Ice is always a nightmare. So that was the problem. That I received numerous phone calls. I didn't know that you did too, but
yep.
So actually,
that's what we
our crews out to go clean them up.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking, because some of the sidewalks that were complaining were not very close to the road. They were, so I live on New Britain Avenue, and I know they got to move, and they got to get the snow off there, and they got to clean the shoulder too. And some of them come with a larger blade that reaches in, so they're getting whack, and they're throwing it 10 feet in. And of course, a long duration storm, they're going to fill that sidewalk each time they make the pass. They're going to refill that sidewalk. So
that's what the state does.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the two messages is, one is those corners on the streetscape are property owners' responsibilities.
Yes.
So the length of the streetscapes, who just makes nobody makes the general run. Everybody's got to clean their section.
CVS has got theirs, the restaurant, the cleaners, everybody's got their own section.
Interesting.
So
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, in front of their property. Well, yeah.
That's a town ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is, but it's yeah. And they're bigger sidewalks now. I mean, they're 6 foot wide or whatever. So, okay, thank you.
They're going to have to maintain them.
All right.
Anything else?
Like we're set with the snow. We'll move on to the Parks Department equipment. Again, it's made up of 2 items. The first item relates to the final lease payment on one of those large area mowers that are used to probably mow Elm Ridge and Maxwell Park and some of the large grassy areas, probably Mosier and some of the schools. And then the second one is a request for this year by the department for an attachment to the Bobcat that helps maintain some of the paths, walking trails within the town borders. So if Greg's still there, he can explain the request for the Bobcat attachment.
Yeah, so the Bobcat attachment, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the Bobcat attachment is it's actually a heavy duty brush cutter that we can put on to the Bobcat. I think, as everyone knows, there's a big push for connectivity in town. There's, our trails are very heavily used, and we've got another area where people want trails over at the farm. So this attachment would essentially be able to help us cut trails. So we wouldn't need to hire outside work or outside help to do this. We're in charge of, all of our trails right now account for 175 acres, over 10 miles of public trails for passive recreation. There's another 200 plus acres of open space, including Stratscar Farm, France Street, West Street to Elm Ridge connector area. So this is something that I think could benefit the department and the town greatly. And this is stuff that we could use this with our own equipment and perform work in-house.
So all of that work that you just referenced, we're paying an outside vendor to do?
No, but when we originally started like Dividend Pond Trails, we had to get money to help create those trails way back. That was before my time. I think it was Tony Guerrera who was a part of that. But yeah, we might have to hire outside people to come in to do this stuff.
That's if you want new trails.
Yes.
Okay.
And I get calls every couple weeks asking when we're going to get the trails at Stratscar Farm started, and I deflect. We got a lot.
We're not anywhere near making plans for Stratscar Farm yet. That's why I'm just asking. So if it is specific to trails in Stratscar Farm, I just wanted to know because
no, this
we need to do a lot of work there and then put the plan together and right. So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
Craig,
fine.
you can refer them to the farm, the farmland open space to Chris Duff and myself up there at that, in Ray Carpentino, because it's a 2-year window to get parcel A or parcel B, I guess, into shape. So it is in the plan, but it's not teed up.
But that's just one area we're talking about. I mean, we have all kinds of other trail areas that we have to take care of.
You're also cutting trees?
Cutting trees? No, I'm talking about, well, if we were to cut trails, we would need to potentially remove trees in certain areas, but that wouldn't be done with this piece of machinery.
But okay, but and it can't be you, and you are responsible for cutting some trees, though, right? In your capacity, are you tree warden or? Yes,
I am technically the tree warden. Walt's the deputy tree warden. So, but this, we have, like, in terms of what we're in charge of right now, we have over 10 miles of public trails, and if we need to widen areas, this is something that we can use to help widen areas.
Turn the volume up.
I think the mayor and the town manager approved some clearing on that little cut through off of Elm Street over towards the high school. You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
It zigzags through to Mountain View.
Yep, I know where that is.
And ever since you opened that up, well, some property owners cleaned some trees as well, and that's gone very well. I mean, that pathway is now wide open and well used.
Yeah, I think the key for everyone to understand is that there is such a huge demand for our trail system right now, and for connectivity in town. And this is a piece of equipment that we can use and we can have for a lot of years ahead of us. So that's the thinking behind this piece of equipment. It also, we can also share it with other departments as well.
I'm gonna let Plow this now.
Yeah,
The brush cutter won't, but the Bobcat can.
okay. I guess we're set with your Bobcat attachment. So we'll move on down to the fire department. I believe the fire chief is with us. They finally coaxed me into replacing their mechanics truck this year. I guess it was used during the Civil War, according to Mike. So I think it's about time to be replaced. So Mike, if you want to describe, well, what's a mechanics truck in the fire department?
Well, we have a 2003 Ford F-350, and I'm looking at my notes here, has a utility body and a lift gate. It's 18 years old, and several years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, we put a plow on it to help out with the snow removal around the firehouses, as well as if we need to get out in front of the trucks during heavy storms. We've got significant rot on the body, specifically the fenders and the quarter panels and the entire utility body, to the point where some of the compartments can no longer hold items because there's no more floors to the compartments. It's got about 90,000 miles on it. The lift gate on the back comes in. It's very convenient. Some of the items we lift, long hose lays, whatever, some of those lengths of supply line weigh 120 pounds each. So it's easier to move them with a lift gate, get them back to the firehouse, and get them back on the trucks. The mechanics use it every day. So that's on the road 5 days a week. And right down to assisting with the janitorial duties within the firehouses, moving the floor buffers and whatever else it might be. So it's a 52-week-a-year truck.
And Mike, this truck has tools on it so that when one of your fire engines perhaps breaks down out in the field, this is the truck that goes out there and hopefully fixes it and gets it back up and running.
Absolutely, John. Yes, it is. It's this is the again. We're dealing with fire engines, which are the smaller ones on the fleet at 28, 30 tons, and the bigger ones, the ladder trucks, significantly more than that. Now the jacks we just need to bring out there. Think of the weight of those, and not like your regular car jack. So. Yeah, we do have a considerable amount of tools on the trucks. And this, just want to be clear, is a service truck. We don't use it for responding.
Mike, you're replacing an F-350 with, what's the replacement vehicle?
It's going to be an F-350, Alan. Okay. Same thing. Utility body, we want to stick with the same setup if at all possible.
So $45,000 over 3 years is basically the cost for an F-350 with the plow and the lift gate. Are you transferring the lift gate?
We would transfer the lift gate. That's what we've looked at. And we'd transfer the plow also.
Okay.
So we're just looking at the truck at this point.
With the utility body?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I guess you're all set, Mike.
All Right, thank you, everybody, appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Next is the Highway Department vehicle list. On the write-up, there's 5 items listed. 4 relate to leases the town has committed for, I believe, dump trucks and various other heavy-duty pickup trucks. This year, Joe has a request to, I believe, purchase just a chassis for a dump truck. And then we would put the dumper section on from an existing vehicle in the town fleet. Is that right, Joe? Is that the Cliff Note version?
That's a great clip. That's perfect. It's a cabin chassis, actually. We do have a body. We do have 2 of our older trucks that are starting to rot out. One of them has a newer body that we did replace a few years back. That body can still be utilized. So all I need to purchase is the cab with the engine and the frame of the truck. I don't need the body. So it's a significant savings just purchasing the cabin chassis and utilizing what we have.
Because generally it's a 2-prong attack. You buy the chassis from one dealer, and then you buy the dumper section from another vendor, and so on. And then once the one comes in, you send it out to the other. So this way here, we're eliminating the cost of buying a new or replacement dumping system. We could just transfer that from one of our existing trucks. And so you can see it reduces our lease payments from $14,000 to probably close to $18,000 from some of the previous dump trucks that we replaced over the past few years.
Right.
And John, just looking over some of the other leases, we're in the second to last year for about 4 of them. So, it's not this budget, it's not next budget, but in the following one, we're going to get about $104,000 of relief, I guess, there once those wrap up. Do we think that that's going to be more of a savings, or are there other vehicles that need to get replenished, kind of as we look to the future of that vehicles line?
Well, I'll answer it, then I'll turn it over to Joe, but I believe we're in pretty good shape with our vehicles. We've done a lot of upgrading to, especially not our big trucks as much as some of the smaller trucks, the F2, 350s, and so on. So they, with our garage maintaining them, they should have a longer life. The only thing that might come up is a replacement of a dump truck that we use primarily to plow snow. I don't know the ages off the top of my head, but Jody, don't you think we're in pretty good shape for the next few years overall?
There's going to be 2 trucks that, in that amortization plan that I laid out last year, I wanted to replace a truck. COVID obviously threw everything off last year, but I would have to say in the next 5 years, I definitely have to replace 3 trucks in the next 5 years. They're not going to make it. One of them is 32 years old. We just try to use it in the summer now, not in the winter. But at times I have to use it for a spare because we have breakdowns. And I only have 1 spare truck. That truck is also 23 years old. So that's the next truck is going to be my truck 17. And the problem is the frames, they can't make it this long.
So Joe, along those lines, this truck over 4 years is $104,000 roughly. How many years do you normally get out of a truck? What's the frame and chassis?
I would say 15 years, and you can start, if you could start a good plan, and with, nice amortization plan, and at 15 years, you can still get something back. You might, and, you start working deals with the state low bid contractors, which currently is Freightliner. So we utilize that, and you can get a trade-in value, at 15 years. Anything after that, it's just some frames just can't make it. And we do the best. I mean, the guys do a tremendous job after each and every storm of cleaning, but we don't have that wash facility that really gets underneath and cleans the frames of those trucks. It's unfortunate.
And then the dump portion that you're going to be taking off another truck,
yes,
will that last the full 15 years, or will that probably need replacing at a certain point in time? It's already used.
I think I can get 10 out of it.
Okay.
I think, that was why it was worth doing this. I think that we could get a significant amount of time. I got my fingers crossed, obviously. And again, with cleaning and maintenance of it, with the guys doing a fantastic job, I think we can get it.
And then the last question, I know you may not even have the answer to this. Have you looked to see if any of this equipment's available at this point? Because I know, professionally, we're struggling to get equipment. There's quite a backlog on big commercial trucks.
Yeah, there is. The state low bid Freightliner, though, they got a significant amount. He had put together an order. He told me last year during COVID, and we couldn't do anything, but they have significant amount of dump trucks. It's in this body style that I need.
Okay.
I guess you guys are all set with Joe's dump truck switcheroony plan, moving one dump to another dump. Okay, the next item on the list was a Parks Department pickup truck, but that's in the third payment of a 3-year lease, so that's a town commitment. And then the last item on the list relates to Facilities Department, the maintenance area, in which one of our maintenance vans got deadline due to a rusting frame. I believe Joe was the cause. So Phil's requesting a van for our maintenance department, which is primarily one of those, like a Ford Transit style truck. Inside is needed to be built out as far as shelving, and so that they could organize their tools and equipment and pieces and parts and so on, so that when they do arrive at a location, they have the tools to fix the problem. So Phil, if you want to add more.
Yes, it's also, we'll need a, ladder rack, pipe box. This is for my electrical trades mechanic. The van that broke down, actually the transmission went on at first, and then it was brought to the highway garage. They got it on the lift, and that's when they discovered the rust. So the frame is rusted out. One of the engine mounts is totally gone, while the other ones were bad. So it's amazing that the motor didn't fall out of the chassis. But it's 15 years old. It's did its work, because it was the van that I had when I was the trades electrical mechanic. Right now we're borrowing the former animal control van from the police department. It's just an empty cargo van. Right now, he's got all the stuff on the bottom of it, and it's not efficient and has no ladder rack. So I have to get my HVAC mechanic to bring ladders, if they need an extension, if my electrician needs an extension ladder or 12-foot ladder, 10-foot ladder. we don't have a means to get that over there for them. So they're tag teaming, helping each other out. But typically, it's one person, one van. They don't usually work together unless it's, two men work. But yeah, and then according to Joe, it's amazing that this particular vehicle is on the road and he doesn't have faith in it. I'm sorry about the tales of woe, but we need the van.
Okay, if there's no questions for Phil, that sort of wraps up the town manager's request for capital improvements for the upcoming budget year. We do have the school requests on this page as well, but we usually address that when the Board of Ed presents their budget request as well. And tentatively, we canceled that meeting from last week, and we're trying to get a confirmation, unless someone got confirmed, of rescheduling that meeting to May 27th. After that, the next section relates to the 5-year CIP program that a charter requires to be part of the budget, proposed budget submitted to the town council. I don't know if anybody wants to review that or have any questions on that, but it's again focusing in on some of the needs on the upcoming 5-year period. If there's no questions, I move for an adjournment. I don't know that line, Lisa, that you have.
I think it's that.
I'm so excited about it. I can't get it off.
Madam Mayor, are you looking for a motion?
I was looking to conclude this episode of how are we going to do all of this here. So yes, I will move for an adjournment. If someone will make the motion, I won't move for it. I'll ask for a motion.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to adjourn the budget workshop today.
Thanks. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Bye. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.